Samsung LCD TV, and it's completely dead. So let's have a go at this and see what's causing this one to give us some trouble. This one's an LN37A330J 1D. It's a 37-inch from 2008, and it's a Mexican-made one. We have no attempt to turn on whatsoever, so the first thing we're going to look at, obviously, on this is the power supply. Now, I remember people said about how LCD TVs consumed a lot less power than plasma TVs. Look at this one, 180 watts for a 37-inch. That's a pretty big number for a 37-inch TV. I think a 40-inch plasma was probably, I think my 40-inch plasma or 42-inch plasma measures in just over 200 watts. But again, it's on average, it's less than that. On average, we did a video on it, but it wasn't that bad. Full white, I think it'll draw like closer to 300, but nobody runs full white on their screen. Anyway, this one's quite a power-hungry unit for a 37-inch. I'm just going to pull the back off this one. I'll take a look and see if we can figure this one out. Now, before I even do any tests on this set is from the era of the bad caps issue that affected a lot of the Samsung TVs made of this era. They're right here in the power supply, right here. And we can see right now, we got a couple of them that the tops are bulged up on. Dead giveaway that these caps are bad. So I'm just going to change these capacitors, and I bet you that'll fix this television. I just noticed something else on here too. I guess those aren't ground screws. There's tabs on the board here. It looks like they're ground tabs, but there's no screws in them. But I don't think these actually ever had any screws in them. Doesn't look like they've ever had screws in them. They've got it attached a little further down on the board here. There's a ground screw there. So I'm going to grab the board out of this thing. We'll start swapping a few of these parts out. And that probably will be all that's wrong with this one. Then I can get this one out of my hair. This one belongs to a friend who's been bugging me about his daughter's TV. So we'll get this one looked at and change out those caps. I bet you that fixes it. So we'll just unplug all the plugs from the board. I take the board out, take it over to the other bench, and we'll start checking and swapping caps. The first thing we'll do is we'll make sure that there's no charge on any of the big capacitors here, even though it hasn't been plugged in for a while. Just make sure that everything is completely discharged, which it is, so I don't have to worry about touching anything and getting a shock. Most of these sets, they have a discharge resistor, so that when they're unplugged, a resistor will discharge the capacitor anyway, but not all cases. In some cases, they don't have a discharge capacitor. Now, there's something on here that disturbs me, and I'll show you right here. My camera just moved on its own. This circuit glue here, this is the type of stuff that over the years will deteriorate. It'll turn like a brown, crusty, very hard, crunchy type texture to it, and it actually becomes not only corrosive but conductive. So keep in mind, if there's circuit glue like this and it's touching any surfaces that have got voltage on them, like these two jumpers here, that's a place that could potentially cause a future failure. So we want to try and get this crap away from these conductors, or preferably remove it completely. What the circuit glue was put in there for to begin with was for transportation, when the unit was in transit, to stop components from flexing and moving. And all it does is it causes problems when it deteriorates and it becomes conductive. So we're just going to scrape this out of here if we can. It hasn't gone bad yet, but it will eventually. All this circuit glue goes bad eventually. So we just want to try and scrape this out of here the best we can, so that it's not going to cause a short down the road. Any other places that we find that circuit glue where it's actually touching a conductor. There's another one down here on this regulator. down here. This is another place where we should clean this out of here. Because this one, if you look down here, you can see that this one's already starting to change. Right, it's already starting to go brown down here. This is what happens is just over time this stuff gets really quite brittle, and here's what it looks like when it starts to become conductive. And it will short, and you'll see instead of it being elasticy like it was when it was first applied, now it becomes brittle and it will actually break. Right? The stuff becomes dried out and brittle. That stuff's got to go. If you've got that stuff on your board, anytime you find that circuit glue, it's a good idea to get rid of it, because if you don't, it'll eventually cause a problem down the road. Here's some more on these resistors right here that needs to come off, so I'm just gonna see this one here starting to deteriorate too, starting to get brittle. You see? And it also gets, besides getting conductive, it also becomes corrosive, so it'll actually attack the copper, and you'll eventually end up with an open connection. So it's important to get that stuff out when you run across that circuit glue. And I think I've displayed or demonstrated in some other videos symptoms where that stuff has gone bad. I think if we look back at some of my VCR videos from prior, I've had units that had circuit glue on them that it was actually causing a symptom. I'm pretty sure I've done some videos on that. Anyway, that's enough about circuit glue. We're here to change capacitors. So what we have here is we have a 1000 microfarad 25 volt on this one, and, or is it 35? 35 volt. And a 2200 at 10. And I've got a 1000 at 35, and I have a 2200 at 25 volts. So it's okay to go a little bit up on the voltage too, right? You don't go down, you go up. Anyway, I'm going to change these ones out. I'll measure the other ones. I'm only going to change the two on this that have got pop tops on it, because this is basically being done for a friend. So I'm not making any money off of it. Okay, so I'm changing the caps that are bad to get the TV going for an old buddy of mine. So we're going to change out those two caps, and that's all I'm going to change on this, and see if that's all that's wrong with it. I can certainly put the ESR meter on the other ones as well, and we'll confirm that they're probably okay. You know, if you were fixing your own TV and you wanted to make sure it wasn't going to blow up again, then you might want to just change all of them. But again, it's typically not all of them that go bad. The ones that went bad on here, they were piss poor capacitors to begin with, but a lot of them were underrated. They were mislabeled at the factory. At least that's the rumor. That's the rumor mills out there, is that the manufacturer of the components mislabeled caps and shipped them out and put in ones that weren't the correct rating, and those are the ones that all failed. Believe that rumor if you want. That's what I've been reading on it, is that they were bad parts that were supplied to the manufacturer that was putting the boards together for Samsung, and they were mislabeled, which doesn't surprise me, because geez, where have we seen that before? We're always seeing mislabeled parts. Anyway, just waiting for the iron to warm up here, and we'll swap out those caps. I know there's no need to really even show you this one here, but this is the 1000 mic cap here, 0.5 ohms, 0.53 ohms. That's the 1000, and a 1000 should be like 0.08, 0.07, somewhere in there. So yeah, 0.5, yeah, it's bad. We know it's bad because the top is bulging on it, so obviously that one's cooked. So we'll change that one out, and I have a visitor coming out to see me here. I can hear the door creaking. Now I'm replacing this with a Rubicon, and it's amazing the physical size difference, because the new one I'm putting in is actually physically smaller, but it's the same rating as the original. Just gonna crank that up just a little bit more. It's I know people will be critical, saying, oh, you run your iron at 800 degrees. Well, that's what the display shows. it's not no 800 degrees. Trust me. I had it set for 700 there, and it was just barely melting the solder. So that Zaxxon soldering iron, which is the Hakko clone, yeah, it's a nice iron, but I don't put much faith in the accuracy of the display, because it seems a lot cooler than what the display shows. We'll just remove the other bad cap here. That's top is bulging on it. That one is just use the old heat and rock method of removing. As I say, this thing shows me it's 800 degrees now, but there's no way in hell that iron is no 800 degrees. It just isn't going to happen. I mean, just look at it. Just, you know, it's like, sure, it melts the solder. It's starting to get warm now. It's starting to heat up. It takes a while for this thing to get going. You know, it's a cheap soldering iron and it gets the job done, but it isn't my Weller. That's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, this other cap here. This is 2200 mics at 10 volts. I've got a 2200 mic at 25 volts. We'll replace that with this one, and then I'll measure some of the other caps. I'll measure them with the ESR meter. Actually, maybe we'll measure them right now, and I'll measure them in circuit, because an ESR tester can test in circuit. So here's some of the other ones here that are got 0.04. 0.06, see, these are fine. 0.01, these ones are fine. Right, it's just these two that blew up. Looks like one of these ones here, looks like the solder connection on this one's bad. Take a look at this one here. Let me wiggle this part here, and you'll see. See here, it's moving. Right there. From my angle, I can see it cracked. Anyway, we'll reheat that one when I put the new part in on the board here. Incidentally, this solder that I've got, solder if you're an American, by the way, but just saying, this stuff here is actually not bad. This is, you know, this is obviously not Kester solder, but it's actually not bad. I was quite impressed with this roll. I'd use this brand again. I just bought this down at my local supplier when I was buying my my vacuum tube amp kit. I know it's kind of ugly. I'll just reheat this one a bit. It's the problem when you put 60/40 solder over top of the lead-free stuff. It doesn't really mix that well. This other cap back here, it feels kind of loose. I don't see anything moving here, but it certainly it feels loose on the other side of the board. Make sure there's no solder splashes. There was a piece of solder, I guess you guys just saw it, just sitting there on the board. Also, for future videos, I've got a couple camcorders here that I just recently received. I've got a Sony TRV-30. We're going to be looking at this. I've got an old Sony CCD LN37A330. This is a real old one. And I've got a couple of even older ones. So we're going to be doing some camcorder videos where I'm going to take these apart and see if I can get them going. And if not, they'll be great teardown videos, because you never can have enough teardown videos for camcorders. Anyway, I'm just giving myself a plug for a future video, as I've got those two camcorders. I've got a CCD V1, I think it's a CCD V110 as well, and a couple of VHS camcorders that are going to be looked at in videos that are not too far away. Now that the weather's starting to warm up a bit and it's not so bloody cold out, I'm going to be able to spend some more time here in the shop doing some work without having to run the heat, because I have a 4,800 watt electric heater in here, but it gets kind of, well, first of all, it's loud, but it also gets kind of expensive to run. So I'm just going to just give this board a once over and take a look at it with a magnifying glass, make sure that there's no obvious problems, and we'll put it back in the set. Okay, the board's remounted. Now time to plug it back in. So all the plugs just plug back into their respective connectors. Okay, time to turn this thing on and see if it works. Okay, set's plugged in. Power. Looks like it works. So that was all that was wrong with this one. Just two capacitors on that power supply, which is really quite common on these sets of this vintage. There was a lawsuit against Samsung, and Samsung did extend the warranty to a lot of people for these TVs with this problem. That extended warranty grace period is probably long over now, but they did for a while. Another thing worth noting, if you have a Onkyo home theater receiver, such as the one that I did the reflow of the chip a year or so ago, Onkyo is extending the warranty on all affected units until the end of 2018. If you go and find that video, I do believe I have a link added to the description that you can follow that link, and it will take you to Onkyo USA, and you put in your serial number and they will tell you if you have one of the ones that is affected by the recall. And I'm saying recall because they are honoring that warranty. If you still have one of those units and you've got the sound problem, they will repair it for free, or they will give you a credit. If you've purchased a new one, they will give you a credit towards the purchase of specific models. But again, if you've got one and you haven't fixed it, or you're still having problems, mine's still working. And I contacted Onkyo just for the hell of it, and they've told me, yeah, ship it into us and we'll replace the processor or the chip or the board or whatever. We'll see. I'm trying to get a board out of them, see if I can get them to send me a board and swap it out myself. Because I say mine's still working at this point, but hey, you know, if they're offering to fix it for free, I might take them up on that offer and just ship it in and let them replace it and modify it and do whatever they're going to do to it. And then we can do a video when the unit comes back and see exactly what they did to it. Anyway, this one's fixed. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll catch you in the next one. If you like this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon at, well, the link's on the page here. But if you like these type of videos, any support would be great. As many of you may or may not know, YouTube doesn't pay out that well, even for the advertising. And it's gone down a lot in the last year due to new policy changes. If you like this video, please consider supporting me. We'll catch you later.